My name is Newbon. I'm an actor, director, producer, working mainly in games, but also in television and film. And I have the great joy to be a friend of this man over here.
And I'm Abubakar Salim, the great friend, and also he is also a very great friend. I'm an actor, producer, writer as well, and yeah, just all lover of arts.
A lover of arts.
A lover of arts.
An amateur of arts, darling. I'm a lover of all arts.
No, man, look, I've got to say thank you so much again for just agreeing to do this.
Oh, not at all, man.
We've been trying to find a day for it, but you're a busy man.
Yeah, we've been very coy with each other.
Very like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Are you free? I'm free. What do you want to do?
Like, yeah, but it's been, honestly, man, I really, really appreciate it.
No, not at all, man.
Really
It's great to see you.
So, yeah, no, so look, the beautiful thing about this stuff, right? The beautiful thing that we're trying to do anyway is like, it's very casual. It's very kind of cool. It's relaxed. There's no agenda, which is something that, we try and almost pride ourselves with. And it is just about truly life and how we got to where we are now. So, which, is...
We only have like a few hours.
I know. But like, yeah, but I'm curious, man. So tell me, like, where was it or how did you decide, like, okay, you know what, this is my form of storytelling. This is where I want to jump into, like how I want to get into it.
Yeah, man. Like, I mean, I think like every actor, there's a few moments that lead you into that place. There's definitely like 3 big moments, I think, for me, that led me to become a storyteller and being lucky enough to be able to continue with that.
Yeah.
I think the first time I was only about 8 years old, I think. I went to see the original, well, I paid for it. My mum took me. Yeah, I decided to take my family. So my mum took me to go and see the original Cats.
Oh, amazing!
Which is film aside, which is a fun thing for kids to watch and all that kind of stuff. So when I went down to, it was also the first time I went to London as well.
Yeah,
because I'm from Birmingham, which is a place. So I went down to London, fell in love with London instantly, like the energy around the place. I went to see the Cats, and it was a really interesting cast. I can't remember. It was Wayne Sleep, I think, was in that. Bonnie Tyler was in it, I believe. Yeah. Was it Bonnie Tyler? Yeah, Bonnie Tyler.
Wow.
And also Brian Blessed.
Oh my
which was
God.
badass. And I remember I liked it, but I remember being captivated by Brian Blessed.
Right.
Which is a sentence that you don't often hear.
No, not really.
But Brian Blessed was the old like vagrant cat. I can't remember the name of the cat now. It's like the old tufty, like grumpy cat. And in the middle of the middle of the intervals, he used to stay in character, in costume, in the center of the theater, and invite all the kids to come up and say hello. So I was like rushed down there because I'd been like just literally captivated by this thing, hyper focused, as it turns out, on the performance. And so I rushed down and was like the very first kid to go and see him. And then I started doing this thing, apparently my mum said, of letting the other children in front of me go past, like one by one. And I was a polite kid, right? And my mum was like, what the hell's he doing? Like,
you got there first.
Take
your time.
Yeah. So then, so everybody went past. I still remember the experience. I remember the feeling very well. And then finally it was just me. And I went up to him. I can't remember what I said. It was like, oh, you're cool. I don't know, I can't remember what I said to him. But I remember he had this very soft, booming voice, even when he was whispering, talking, oh, you are a very polite young man. What's your name? All kind of shit. Like, can we use profanity?
Yeah.
All that kind of shit. So, I remember just being enthralled by this creation, this creative, artistic thing that this clearly man, hidden under all this makeup and an outfit, had created, and I was being affected by that. And so my mum's, when I went back, my mum said, "What are you talking about?" I was like, and she said, "Why did you let all the kids go in front of you?" And I said very clearly, I wanted it to just be he and I I actually used he and I because I was very well grammar. He and I on the stage together.
Yeah.
Because that's what I wanted. I just had this desire to be alone on the stage in this experience with this actor. And that was it. That I got hooked, man. So, yeah. So my mum was very cool. My mum wanted to be an actor when she was a kid, but she didn't need to be an actor.
Right.
And also coming from the time in the 60s was a different thing. Yeah. That was not an equal. Well, it was still arguably not an equal society still in terms of gender. but we're hopefully getting there. But back in the 60s, definitely not. Like the idea of being an actor was wildly weird.
Yeah.
You know, she became, you know, a secretary, but then got into production.
Okay.
And that kind of stuff. So for her, it was, I always felt talking to her, it was like a dream, but not a need.
Yes.
And I think very clearly I understood the difference between that. And then I got into National Youth Theatre under Ed Wilson.
National Youth Theatre,
man.
Yeah.
Under Ed Wilson, who was just this beautiful, amazing tour de force.
Yeah.
So talented and knowledgeable and so kind and also so strong and also did not let you get away with shit.
No.
But also really fair.
Yeah.
A really interesting guy. Very sadly passed now. And actually that's not true. Before that, I got into Central Television Workshop, which was a workshop in Birmingham and Nottingham.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah,
actually.
man. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure if it still runs now. A guy called Tim who I actually did a TV series with years ago, was running it. I'm not sure if it still runs. It was a really great resource because he's got a lot of actors. A lot of actors that went into acting afterwards started actually at Workshop from the Midlands. It's all about Midlands based. Very cool. So from there, I went to National Youth Theatre, and from there, I then got picked up by an agent.
Amazing.
And then started working.
From National Youth Theatre?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, when I was about 18, 19 years old.
I guess that was also at a time when you guys were doing plays, right? And doing actual performances.
Yeah, they still do it.
They still do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually in conversation with them. I'm trying to do some volunteer stuff with them.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to work out, but hopefully.
Oh, okay.
So from there, I then became an actor. I promised my parents I'd finish A-levels. I was lucky enough to be able to do A-levels.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I finished A-levels and then went, I'm gone. I am out of here. Because Birmingham and me have had an interesting relationship,
right?
I would say. I've got a twin who's a cameraman. He's in the industry.
Nice.
But he's a brummie. Like,
he's proper brummie.
For me, man, I walked around like I was an alien. I was not from there. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, then I went down to London, became an actor, had a great success, experienced great non-success,
of course,
lack of success, and was not prepared for that.
But it's funny though, it's like that whole thing of, and this is I remember again being at drama school, being told like, you've got to be comfortable with the idea of living off beans and toast for the rest of your life. Yeah, man. Because that's the reality of it. I had
people tell me the opposite, which was very stupid.
Really?
Yeah, well, I was doing really well. I did like 3 films back to back, big ones. A lot of cool TV stuff, plays that were all cool, and Fringe Festival, Bloomsbury. Wow. I was rocking it.
So you were literally, so you came in,
and unfortunately, people were telling me stupid shit.
Right.
Like, oh, this is how it's going to be. You're going to be this and the other.
Right, right. Yeah, of course.
I know, man. I was like 20 odd years old.
Yeah.
And then suddenly nothing. And then suddenly the panic. You know what I mean? Suddenly like, oh my God, that's it. My career, that's all I get. You know what I mean? And as opposed to doing what I know now, which is to refine training, go back, make sure your habits are not getting stronger in a bad way, keeping your head together, making sure you have constant money coming in on any part-time job you can do, and maybe go back into training or studio work or whatever. As opposed to doing that, I just sat there feeling sorry for myself.
Right. No, which is, you know what? And look, I don't blame you, man. Like, honestly, again, I remember being told, like, there's a moment where you're like, I'm just waiting for the phone to ring. I'm just waiting for my agent to call me. When actually, yeah, exactly. Whereas actually, life ain't like that, man. Like, you can't wait. You cannot wait.
There's no cavalry coming.
No.
It's my firm belief is that you are the cavalry. Your friends and chosen family are there to support you when you need that help. But you have to take those steps. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to sit there feeling shit. Yeah. And actually what you'll end up doing, which I luckily have never done, but got close to, was feeling bitter about things. Right. Because that will fuck you faster than anything else. Yeah. So that went on. And then I got back on my feet. I met one of my close friends, Giles Foreman, who I'd known since I was 19. I'd suddenly realized, he said, why don't you come and train with me? Because I had a bad teacher for a while who taught me a lot about method, but duty of care was like 0. Okay. Was I think was not great. Yeah. And almost again, first time I ever thought, well, maybe I'm a bad actor.
Wow.
You know,
see,
which sucks.
It's poisonous, man.
It's poisonous, dude. So anyway, I managed to find a better teacher, I feel, because he was Giles is somebody that really lights a fire under you and really makes you feel like you not only can you act, you deserve to be able to tell a story. And also is a great, fantastic mentor as well. So I got lucky. And then at that point, this was during a period of time when I was very close to quitting acting. In fact, actually, I remember, I've said this on an interview before, I think. I woke up one day in huge amounts of debt, just constantly paying off interest or trying to work out, should I eat or spend more money on training?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like really heavy. I had a bicycle, thank God, and London was accessible.
Yeah.
But it was rough, man, for a long time. And then, I had this weird new moment of, I was a gamer. I'd lost myself in Star Wars Galaxies quite dramatically.
Amazing.
Yeah, well, but it was to avoid dealing with my shit.
With the reality of life.
Very much like, oh, my life as a Jedi in Star Wars Galaxy is amazing. So much better. Look, I can create the house in a nice way, because you can make houses and shit. I was like, thinking, I just spent like 8 hours on my fortress. And my room is a nightmare, you know. Yeah. It's one of those moments. And I found an article about voice work and in games, and I was like, well, I think I can do that. I think I'm very good at character, even though people won't always let me be a character in TV and film. I think that I have a good voice. It's malleable. I know I'm good at accents. I think I can do this. And then right at the bottom of this article in PC Gamer is a picture of the mocap studio in Audio Motion, one of their early studios. So it was really like just a warehouse with like cranes and crap everywhere for cameras and stuff. But it was the first time I ever saw it. And it was a picture of a guy in his dramatic pose leaning forward in a mocap outfit, no HMCs because they wouldn't have mounted cameras there.
Right.
And I remember thinking that's theatre and film, which I've done both. I've trained in both. I can do that. I can totally do that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Without knowing, obviously, any of the technicalities. It was like, well, just the feel of that feels right.
Yeah.
So I got in touch with Stacey Boiselle and Brian Mitchell. And this is my skill set. I can weapon train, gun trained, martial arts trained, I can horse ride, and all this kind of stuff. I think all of that could be applicable. Yeah. I'm also an actor. I think I can do this. They auditioned me at Spotlight. I got $30K in Ghost Recon Future Soldier. Not the voice, just the physicality, the performance capture. Worked with some US Navy SEALs for a few weeks. Worked with Clive Standen.
This is amazing.
Clive Standen, who's a secret mocapper. I'm outing him as a mocapper. He and I worked with him on that gig. Oh, wow. Clive Standen from Wanted. I saw him actually at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen each other for years. And we gave each other a massive hug. But I started all my stuff with a whole bunch of us. There wasn't many of us doing it.
Okay.
But it was the first time I could ever take my face off, still playing, obviously, anything appropriate to my ethnic background, casting type. But I could suddenly be a character. You
could be anything.
You can be anything. Anything. Appropriate, right? Including aliens and creatures and that kind of stuff. So then it was like, wow, this is cool. I'm getting paid for it. I get to play. I get to really push my craft further than I have done.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand how this works. Obviously, Brian Mitchell, Stacey Boiselle, who gave me the opportunity. Brian championed me a lot for many, many years. And they just gave me all this work, man. Also, it was an interesting moment because everybody was telling me not to do it. Agents, past lovers, friends, family, like everybody was saying.
Not to do acting or not to do motion capture?
Acting and also motion capture.
Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people. I remember one person who I'm not going to name said, I don't understand why you're putting yourself through so much pain. I remember thinking it was because you don't understand me. You don't understand what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
You know? And listen, all this stuff that we're talking about, this is not unusual for actors. All of us go through this stuff. All of us are penniless. All of us have a hard time. All of us question why we're doing this. All of us experience pain.
Yeah.
Unless somebody's extraordinarily lucky. And even then, it's
then, I feel like it's a similar track, right? I remember seeing actors from drama school who graduated and ended up, being incredibly successful, like straight off the bat from it.
Yeah, man.
And then you don't hear anything from them for a very long time. And you're like, oh, I wonder what they're up to. And some of them are struggling then to find the next gig because that's the cycle of being an actor, right? And it's almost like I find when it comes to acting and the work that people do, like yes, it does look lucky from the outside.
Oh, yeah.
But it's, that it swings and roundabouts, man. It swings and roundabouts. And I think like ultimately there's always that you've got to be prepared for the periods of when you're not working. Those are the periods when it's like...
That's one of the biggest skills they don't teach
you. They don't teach you that anywhere,
any of that stuff.
No.
It's like how to look after yourself emotionally, mentally.
Yeah.
How to look after yourself physically. How to, if you have a bit of money, how to invest that shit.
Yeah.
How to not get self-destructive.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of actors do.
Because again, it's the whole thing of like you're celebrating it like as if it's your last day on earth. But actually, there's a lot more to life than than a film gig. Do you know what I mean?
That's the other thing I think as well, that I think at the time when I was like, about to quit acting and all kind of stuff, was that I couldn't see anything beyond it. Like my life was so focused. I've been to America a few times. I'd done the circuit there. I've been around other actors. I'd seen the machine of that. which is an interesting machine, but it's a full-on one. I'd seen how people get sucked in completely. I was completely focused on that and nothing else. And I think there was elements of me just stopping being like a person.
Right.
In that way. Not literally, obviously, but, you know, in terms of my life quality, I'd forgotten the golden rule that your life is not what you do, not your job.
Yes.
Even if it is a vocation, which this is for us, it's beyond that. It's more than that. You're not just an actor. You're an actor. You're somebody who is an actor, but also is a human being, also should have a life, also should experience things if you're lucky enough to be able to afford all that kind of stuff.
I think it's one of those ones as well where like, because again, I was very similar. I remember being in that mentality of acting is my life. I need to do this, you know, I need to do all the lessons. I need to be, you know, learn all the kind of different, you know, skills and methods of how to get into it.
Which you should do.
And you need to do that, but you also need a balance, right? You also need to realize that actually your life isn't the art. You know what I mean? And I think like, I remember for a very long time, thinking, you've got to bleed for your art. You've got to bleed for it. And I know, like, and I remember at the time, like, literally, right? But like, then, you know, after having actually worked with other people and working in the studio, for example, and actually, you know, caring in a way for the employees and everything like this, like, I realized, why would I want to put these people who have families through this heartache of trying to get this art, you know, to be the best of what it needs to be, when actually I know that they can produce something even better if they're just happier, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like, and that's ultimately that, and having noticed that from outside, I realized like, oh, right, actually as an actor, I don't have to torture myself. I don't have to like know every skill and know every sort of, you know, every lesson. And,
it's the interesting thing about that is like, because my attitude from when it comes to work now is I want to have almost more fun than anybody on set.
Right.
Or in the volume. To the limit of not destroying the work.
Of course. No, I get you though. I get you, yeah.
But if I'm having, and including when I'm a director, I also am a producer, I want people to have fun. I want them to do their job really well. I want to do my job really well. I want to be really focused when you need to. And if you need to shut the fuck up, you shut the fuck up.
And
do your job. But I want to have as more fun than anybody because that's when I'm at my creative best. That's when I'm really flying. And as long as I'm not infringing on another actor or another director's job or producer's, whatever the thing is, right? Or crew's job, as long as that's not infecting other people's work in a bad way, I want to be able to lift up because that's the experience of this. It should be fun.
It should be fun. And you have such a finite time on this earth, man. Like, it's like, you don't want to be...
We talked about that before we started.
Well, this is it, right? We weren't, no, but I'm just saying, like, it's just, it is so important to just enjoy the moment. And look, okay, fine, you're gonna have hardship. Like, that's not necessarily to say that you're never gonna, you know, always gonna have fun and, you know, you're never gonna experience the difficulties. But I think even in those difficulties, there's something that I learned recently anyway. It's like we've all got this path that, like, the world continues spinning. We're moving forward always. So those difficulties are there really not necessarily to teach you about the hardships of life. It's just part of the path. And like, ultimately, you know, you will move forward in the same way that even those enjoyable moments, you enjoy the moment and you love the moment, but know as well, it will, you know, you'll move forward. So you want to enjoy it even more. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think also the other thing about challenges or problems or things like that is that everything can be learned from. I learned more from my failures, fuck-ups and mistakes than I ever did really from the successes. I really believe that. I mean, the first 4 years of doing method acting, I crashed and burned in every goddamn scene. It was fucking horrendous mess. I learned more from that than probably the one scene during that 4 years that went really well.
Really?
Yeah, man. Yeah, completely. It wasn't so much, it was more like the thing I got from the success, if you want to call it that, or the scene that was okay, was that I felt lost in the scene. I felt in a good way. I don't mean lost. I mean, but you know what I mean? I felt in the scene so much. I felt like I wasn't quite sure what I was doing. I was just impulsively doing it based on the work I'd done before in the rehearsals, and it felt good. That was what I got from the success. From the failures, it was like, oh, all this stuff is all about me, or all about this, or my engagement with that, or this and the other. There was so much information I got from the failures. The difficulty, of course, is having the ego to go, you know what, man, I got to accept the fact that was shit. And why is it shit? It's shit because I'm getting in the way of myself, or I'm doing this, or I'm blocking that, or this and the other, or I didn't learn the words properly, or whatever the thing is that I didn't do. And as long as you can sit in that and go, it's okay. It's all right. You know, I always tell my little one that mistakes are there to be learned from. That's the thing. It's like mistakes happen. It's a good thing they happen.
Yes.
Because that's how we evolve.
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's not malicious.
Of course.
If you're making a mistake and you just didn't get it right or you didn't do the work properly or whatever, you can learn from all of it, man.
Yeah.
And actually, it should be embraced, not feared.
No, and I think this is the thing. I think like ultimately, both as you know, in practice as an actor, but also within the game studio, like we have this mantra of failing fast.
Yeah, man.
Like you want to fail fast. You want to realize what doesn't work, what works, and then just kind of moving forward that way. And be completely cool with it because you learn essentially like, okay, that didn't work. Let's, and maybe it didn't work at that time. You might want to not necessarily repeat the mistake, but the idea is like, actually, let's try it again, having also gone through all these other elements as well.
And that's the thing about cultivating an environment of fun and therefore love, that transparency can come to the foreground. And if somebody makes a mistake, it's okay.
Yeah.
But do it fast. Fail fast. Say, listen, I didn't do this right, or this is a problem, or my idea isn't very good actually. Now that we've done the iteration of it, we need to do something else. And, I always tell I've got crew now that work with us, a lot of freelancers that work with us, and I always say to them, I don't mind if there's a problem. Come to me with the problems. Have a solution. I may say no. I may say no. It may be a bad idea. Actually, there's no such thing as a bad idea.
No.
Stupid people. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I didn't mean that. I just think it's funny. No such thing as a stupid question, just stupid people. No, sorry, I didn't mean that. I just think it's funny to say that. But come with me with a solution. Because then it's like then you can feel safe in that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like people can go, I screwed this up, but I think I know how to way out. Or I just screwed this up. I need help.
It's funny, you mentioning, about, the 8-year-old you seeing Brian Blessed. It just brings back to this thing. I keep getting asked in the interviews, like I do, like, how do you feel, for example, about this game coming out and whatever? And I always say, like, I kind of go back to this lesson that I had at drama school, which this teacher told me that every time you do something or you give yourself, over to something, there will be someone in the audience who will be seeing it for the first time or someone who'll be seeing it for the last time. And really, ultimately, those are the two people you have to kind of keep in mind, because you could actually change someone's life or affect someone who's seeing it for the first time and, wanting to be like, oh, actually, I want to do this, or I want to go there, or I didn't think of it that way. Or you could even be giving someone who's, it's their last experience, they don't know it, something really lovely to kind of leave with, or just something to think of. You've affected them in a way. And that always stuck with me. And that's exactly what I mean by like the fact that if it wasn't for that performance and if it wasn't for that moment, we wouldn't be here today, man.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
I'd have quit acting. I don't know what the hell I was.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, and those are special. And the fact is, it's like, because you didn't quit, you've affected so many other people out there who really, no, it's true, because, you have this profound ability of being, and I hate it, but I also love it. You have this profound ability of being so good at what you do, but also just being so honest and so human, which is so rare, because I think like a lot of the time, ego comes into play. And the fact, I love that you mentioned ego, because this is, I think, the thing that really blocks a lot of people, and they don't necessarily think about it as much, right? Everyone, ego is all about the self. It's the personal, it's this thing that you've kind of created that is like, this is me, this is, who I am. And until you realize that actually that ego is, it's nothing. It's not really,
it changes.
This is it. It changes. As long as you accept that, then ultimately, you can be human. You can enjoy.
I think and I think for me, having gone through, I would never recommend anybody have a hard time in life. I don't think. Do you know what I mean? Like you know what? It hard. You're good, but what you really need is to fuck everything up for a while and be in so much debt that you can't eat every day.
Neil advice,
That's
everybody.
What you should do.
Neil advice.
No, absolutely fucking not. But at the same time, my personal experience humbled me.
Right.
And it brought me down, not because I needed to be brought down necessarily, I don't know, because that's an objectivity that I may not have had. But I definitely think that what it did teach me is deep fucking gratitude.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that is one of the cornerstones of me as a person, also mainly as an artist as well, is this sounds like one of those glib bullshit platitude things of, oh, every day I wake up, I'm grateful. It's absolutely fucking true. Especially when I have a hard day. More so when I have a hard day.
Right.
Because if I can step back and go, whoop, okay, this is shit, or this is a nightmare, or I'm exhausted, which often I am because I'm doing too many things. But at least I can step back and go, wow, I've got all this stuff. I'm not talking about work or money or things. I'm talking about the other stuff, you know, the friends, the family, or the experiences, the opportunities, the ability to be able to help other people now, which is not a new thing, but is really, I can really help a lot of people now, which is awesome. I get to champion a lot of actors, teach a lot of actors, do charity work, all that kind of shit. That stuff there is like, wow, most people don't get to do that. No. I get to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like having that profound sense of gratitude is something, it really changes everything. Because then you can go, you know what? Having a shit day, that's okay. That's really okay. It's okay. What can I learn from that? Or, you know what? I just need to go to bed. Or, you know what? I'm going to take, I never say this because I never take the day off, but like, you know, the ability
I know what you mean, though.
The ability to say, I want to take half a day off.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to work right now. To be able to even have that as a resource, I get to choose to not work right now because I'm burnt out.
It's so blessed.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah,
because the majority of people on the planet do not have that.
No, not at all. Yeah.
I mean, you know, we talk about like money and stuff, and most actors, myself included, were penniless or are penniless now or whatever. Yeah. They have a hard time. A lot of people who work incredibly long hours make absolutely fuck all. We do have this massive disparity. We're going to have our first trillionaire in about 10 years, apparently.
What?
Yeah, there's an estimate. Because of how much money these billionaires are making, that we're going to have our first trillionaire in our lifetime.
That's
mind blowing. And not to say that these people don't work hard. I'm sure they do. I do not know their life. I'm not going to pretend that I'm informed to say that.
Okay.
But that I know plenty of people that have worked their asses off, longer hours than anybody, physical work.
Yeah.
And then fuck all. As we know, many people, met many people around the world that have a hard time.
Yeah.
So, you know, man, it's gratitude. It has to be. Every job you get, I never complain about the job I have to do. I never complained about the opportunities that didn't go my way because it's all like, you know what, I'm lucky. I'm just lucky. I have a great fucking life.
Yeah.
And gratitude, I think, for me, is one of the most important things to check your ego.
Yeah.
But also for the experience. We talked about this at the beginning of the present now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because the past is an abstract thing. The future is an abstract thing. Yeah. We have the memories, it informs us, it teaches us from the past if we're lucky enough to be that open-minded. The future is our aspirations, our fears, our worries, our interest, you know, what could happen, what's exciting. But the present moment, that's the reality that we live in, you know?
So look, I wanna talk about the first time we met. I always do this.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember it. Exactly.
Well, this is it. I want to hear your take, and then I'll tell you about my take.
So my first take about you, was I knew about your performance,
right,
which was fucking cool.
Thank you very much.
I was like, who the hell's that?
Thank you.
Who's that guy? And then I heard about you,
right?
Not the work, about you as a person. And that was what got me very intrigued to meet you. It wasn't just the work. The work was like, great, this guy's cool. I want to meet him because he's a peer and all that stuff. It was about you. And I had so many mutual friends, mutual colleagues, or not colleagues, didn't work with them, but peers.
Yeah.
People in the industry that I knew that were talking about you. That's what got me fascinated. Wow. Yeah. Because I'm all about the person, right? I'm very good at reading people as well, like body language especially. I very rarely get it wrong. I very rarely lose friends and things like that because I pick badly.
Right.
But it was I remember hearing so much about you from different sources, different points of view, different people that, you know, the way they take on other human beings. I was really interested. I was like, I got to meet this guy, man. This guy sounds interesting. My cup of tea. And I met you in BAFTA. There was a pillar here.
Right.
And he went, turned around, and I think a friend introduced us, or I knew it was you.
Right.
And you'd heard of me, I think.
Yes.
I went, Abu.
Yeah.
And we just started talking. And you were already like, woo, out here, because everybody was doing that. I remember thinking, this guy's a rock star. This is really cool. This is cool. But I remember thinking, I want to meet this because it just like, I get a lot about you from other people.
Yeah.
I'm all about the company you keep.
Yes.
For me, it's like the biggest thing is I get to meet you. Now let's have a look around you.
Yeah.
Who are the people?
Who are the people you're kind of grabbing? Yeah.
Who are the people that are saying what about the person?
Yeah.
And why they're saying that? That's for me. That's the biggest indicator of a human being.
Yeah, yeah,
it's the actions they take and the people they choose.
Yeah.
I've definitely met people that seem nice and then looked at their friend circle and went, whoa.
And then it almost reveals something different, right?
Absolutely,
it's very interesting,
it's
right?
very interesting.
Yeah.
Man.
So I remember meeting you, and I remember meeting you at BAFTA. And the thing is, right, I knew about your work as well. Like I've heard about your work, and I knew about your work because I've played your work. You know, that's the thing. Cool. And I remember again being slightly intimidated because because again, like, you know, again,
I'm like, face, it's not my fault. That's why I laugh and smile a lot.
It's because and the reason why is because again, it's like, you know, when you meet, like, I think it was you're meeting a force of such creative power, and you're like,
wow,
and you're like, honestly, this is it. No, and I'm not even joking. Like, and I think this is just like what I feel like, because normally I'm quite a confident guy when it comes to meeting people and everything, but there is a sense of like when the artistry just is. You're like, oh my God, I don't know what to expect. I don't know who to expect.
Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick.
Don't be your heroes. But like I do remember, again, it was a boo. And I was like, oh my God, he knows me. And it was this sense of just relief of like, oh wow, this is actually, this conversation, it just feels natural.
Yeah.
It just feels really cool.
It felt very,
and that's it. But every time now that we've crossed paths, and this is so rare as well. Like, I find like when you meet people who you get on with and everything, like every time you meet them, it's really nice and really lovely, right? But every time that I feel like I've met you, and this is only rarely with a few people, every time I've met you, I feel like I've almost like evolved further. Yeah, I feel so much. No, it's true. Like I feel better just in myself, not only as an artist but as a human being. You know, the fact that like, no, but seriously, man, like, because I think the thing is also, and especially now, you know, having a kid and also being in, you know, in another phase as well in life of not only being a creative artist but also being a father, and like, just again, it's terrifying, and I don't think many people really talk about it, especially dads, right, who talk about the sense of like how, you know, and I know it's definitely harder for, you know, for women in regards to like having to balance both, right? Because of the way that not only the societal pressure that is there, but also this, it's just an animal, right? But there is a sense of, especially as a dad, during the first, I think it was during the first few months of having like my daughter, I was like, she just doesn't want me. And it's like so weird.
Oh wow, especially as an actor.
Do you know what I mean?
God,
so then, and I remember, I think I remember talking to you about this very briefly. Like, dude, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be great. And this is it. And I remember being like, oh right, I've got another creative dad here who I can actually talk about this stuff with. And it's just, it just really, it was just really lovely, man. Like every time I see you, it just feels great. Even when we were doing like, you know, that sort of that stream thing for the game and everything, just playing with you and hanging out with you, man. It was just so good. And that is, as I say, like from the evolution of first meeting you and already being like wowed to like, even now, like just looking forward to every meeting of you, man. Like it's so good.
And
man.
we went to Bug War together.
I mean, like, you know
we hell dived together.
We hell dived together, dude. And that was great.
We're pod buddies.
We are, man. We are. And like, that's it. It's bonding. Like, honestly though, truly though, dude, like I think it's one of those ones where I do remember, again, it's that whole thing of, it's about the company you keep. And it's about the people you keep. And
I want to be inspired by friends.
Yes,
and not just. I mean not just creatively, but as a person.
As a person,
you know, there's some great. I mean, Astarian, for instance, is a combination of a whole bunch of stuff. But I also seeded 3 of my friends in there,
right?
In little aspects. I thought, well, I need better representation. I need to anchor myself into understanding these elements, whether I have them or not, is immaterial. I want to create his version of it. And 3 of my friends, really good close friends, are in him. And I think that's the thing. It's like, you know, the company you keep, who inspires you as a person to do better. And also to cultivate that sense of generosity as well. But that's the other thing as well. I kind of, I want to be used up, but when I die.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
I
want to be thoroughly, I'm stealing this from, oh God, what the hell's his name? The very famous British wit, playwright. Oh God, I can't believe he's forgotten his name now. Oh, anyway, there's I'm going to kill myself with this.
Is he an old writer?
Yes, from the 60s, 70s, 80s.
For some reason, I have many faces in my head, but I can't even.
I can't remember who it is.
Do you remember what he's written?
Yeah, well, I remember the quote.
Okay.
I want to be thoroughly used up when I die.
Okay.
It's this idea that he wanted to give himself to the creative community.
Okay.
And was it something like, I'm pretty sure Jeff Goldblum even referenced him recently about it. It's the same thing. I'd heard it before.
Yeah.
But it is this idea of being creatively and as a human being used up.
Yeah.
You want to give yourself to life and to people in such a way that if you are lucky enough to be cognitive when you die or when you pass or towards the end of your days, hopefully not in pain, but just passing, that you can reflect back and go, you know what? I would recommend this to everybody. I had a hell of a life. I used every conceivable opportunity that was presented to me. I helped other people. I helped myself. I evolved in life. Man. That's my aim in life, is to be thoroughly used up by the time I die.
That's cool, man.
I think so, because here's the thing, man. You know, death is scary to all of us. It's an absolute finite. It's something that will happen.
Yeah.
There is no escaping that. So, and I remember wrestling with, I explored lots of religions. None of them stuck, but I learnt a lot about all of them.
Yeah.
Because you have to. If you're going to try and choose a religion, you should learn about that shit.
Yes.
Don't dismiss it. None of them stuck, which is fine. And I respect religion to other people. But for me personally, the idea of death was, like for all of us, is a very interesting concept. And I thought, okay, well, either I can be very afraid of it, which, who knows, on my deathbed, I may be very afraid of it. Who the fuck knows, man? You don't know. But what I can do is make sure that every moment leading up to that moment, I'm going to completely suck the marrow out of life.
Yeah.
And really try and enjoy myself as far as possible, irrespective of the challenges, and also help other people, even if I need help.
Yeah.
That's really an ethos, I think, that's really helped me a lot.
That's really beautiful, man.
Yeah, but it took a lot of pain to get there.
Right.
It wasn't like I suddenly
woke up
and that's the person I am.
And I don't think, again, it's very rare that someone is able to even hear this, take it on board and go about their lives like this. Sure. I think it takes time to get to a level of where you get to. Do you know what I mean?
It's also daily practice.
Yes. This is the thing, right? It's like brushing your teeth, basically. You know what I mean?
Kind of, yeah. It's the action. You can't just talk about it.
No, you've got to keep practicing.
You have to physically do it. You have to mentally do it, emotionally do it. If you are lucky enough to be able to be in a position to help other people, because not everybody can be.
No. And that isn't a bad thing.
That's not a bad thing at all, dude.
No.
Not at all. And it's a privilege.
Yeah.
But it is also that thing of like, you also see ripples. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of
course.
I
remember people that have helped me enormously that may have done only the smallest thing, but it helped me enormously.
Yeah.
Giving a piece of advice, an opportunity, this, that, the other.
Yep.
And the ripples they've had from helping me so I can help other people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, I don't know. I mean, I hope it doesn't sound glib and really pretentious, but I think it's important. I think for humanity to change together, we have to change together. We have to
totally. It's a group effort. Like, I think it's absolutely a group effort. Yeah. And I'm a big believer as well of it's that whole thing of you have a part to play on it, obviously. And I also don't believe that selfishness is a bad thing. I actually think you've got to kind of be selfish.
Self-centeredness can be okay when you need to.
This is it.
Self-care,
because again, that's the sense of like, if you're okay, then you can also help other people.
Being
to
a dad.
Be okay.
You need to, like, sometimes you just need to sleep, man.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in napping.
Yeah.
Napping.
Really?
I can power nap. A friend of mine is a GP, Dr. Steve, who's lovely. One of my old school friends taught me kind of the basis of how to nap. He used to tell me how he napped.
Right. Okay.
He would nap.
How do you nap?
It's about breathing, bagging space. If you need to cover your eyes. You can sit in a chair and just literally go for like 5 minutes.
Right.
Power nap, and you will feel amazing.
Really?
Yeah, man. I used to nap all over sets.
No way.
Yeah, when I was feeling particularly naughty and mischievous, I used to play only the runners that I liked,
Right.
So I used to play a game with some of the runners that I liked, which is Where's Neil? Where's Neil napping? I used to find the most obscure place to have a nap, and then I'd have a nap. I didn't do it like, if things were going horribly wrong, I wouldn't do that. But if things were going well, I'd play Where's Neil napping? And I'd find the weirdest place to nap and just pass out.
Honestly, you know what? So I could never understand the power of napping until
No,
I had my daughter, dude.
The power of napping, man.
This is it. Like, I know it's not the power of now, it's the power of napping.
It's not the power of now, it's the power of
I'm
napping.
telling you. Because honestly, after having my daughter, I was like, it was a need. And it blew my mind. Yeah, whereas beforehand, I was like, napping.
Napping's for old people.
I'll sleep when I'm dead. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, literally. But now I'm like, yo, I feel 101. Like, I feel great. I feel amazing. Like, put me in, coach.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's so true, man. It's like, and literally, you know, it's that whole thing of, I guess it's different. Like, if I'm having a nap, and you know, obviously my wife is around, I feel a bit guilty. But the thing is,
you can tag team naps.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. And then and then they have absolutely. But I do, I do find it hilarious that like there is, again, it's one of those things where I'm like, I used to hate it, now I love it. It's powerful. It's a recharge, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Especially when you've got a kid that's young.
Yeah,
because then it's like nap time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. It's great, man. Amazing. It's so great. No, man. So, look, I wanted to ask actually a bit about your experience in regards to, just in regards to acting now in general, like now in the space that you're in and what you're doing now. Yeah. Have you found, like, and I always ask this as well, like in regards to methods, in regards to like, have you got like a particular method that you use or do you find that it's quite open? Like,
yeah, man. I mean, I would say that I've got a very large toolbox.
Okay.
I started a method. I learned Meisner. I developed my voice. Learned how to sing. Learned how to dance. I learned all this kind of physical stuff. I learned animal work, community dell'arte, mask work. I tried Laban. I amalgamous work with Giles, which I still need to go back and develop more because it's not that as developed as I'd like it to be. Right. I know a shit ton of tools, and you're never entirely sure what's going to work. Right. Animal work saved me on a TV show once because I had no idea what to do with the character. Okay. That helped me enormously in a 2-hour emergency break glass on a train from London to Liverpool. Going, I have no idea what to do with this character. No Animal work. It caused the guy next to me to freak out a little bit. Because I was like squirming in my seat, developing. I was like a hooded cobra. And this guy was like,
this is so cool.
Okay.
I don't want to go to London.
Right, this guy's a wild one. It's just a little lure. So, you know, shit like that. I don't subscribe to the idea there's one route. You know?
Okay,
I don't think there's just one thing. There's some actors who mainly use one thing and that works for them for their whole career. Awesome. Right. Me, I like to mix it up because I don't want to get trapped into habitual methodology. Yeah. I like certain things that are very powerful. I always make music lists. I believe in musicality. In characters, there's always a rhythm of musicality in it. Yes. I usually create playlists at private. I mean, I think the Astarian one, I let people know what the name of it was on Spotify. It's on a playlist, just because people were really curious. And also at that point, we'd done 4 years. I was like, okay, you know what? It's not going to screw up my work to share that one. There's many other playlists I've made that people will never find. Right. Hopefully. Right. Because it also doesn't matter to anybody other than me. Yes. Because there might be, there's on the playlist for Starring, there's Bring Me Sunshine by Morecambe and Wise. I know. But for this one particular scene thing that we're doing, it felt appropriate. And actually, I'm not going to link it to the moment that I used it for. Okay. But there's one very funny moment that it's directly linked to. Okay. Bring me sunshine. Yeah. That was the vibe that I wanted going into that little... What
an interesting song for a vampire.
Yeah. So, you know, there's things like that I find useful. Okay. I sometimes use animal work, sometimes I don't. Yeah. Alikino I used for some aspects of Astarian's physicality. Okay. As well as he's amoral, essentially, Alikino, and Astarian's immoral, so there's a big difference on that. But some of the physicality and some of the fun of it, the jumps, I used from Commedia dell'arte in Astarian. Otherwise, I also look at personifications, substitutions, all that kind of stuff from method.
It's really,
effective memory. You know,
that's really cool that you, so you pull from all these different aspects, man.
I personally don't subscribe to the idea of the one methodology. Yeah. I think for me, it's a nonsense. Yeah. Other people, great. If it works for you, awesome. Yeah. But all acting is a tool.
Well, this is it. And because I remember, because when I was studying, I would literally go through 101 different teachings and be like, which is the one that I need to use? Which is my one? Which is my one?
It's the secret.
Yeah, exactly. And then I realized essentially, like, actually, you know what? it doesn't matter. Like as long whatever gets you there,
whatever
gets you there, that's it. And
sometimes you just need to get through the goddamn door.
That's it. That's it. That is literally it, man.
And the flip side of that is that the danger of being my methodology is that you can get to a point that actually that blocks you. As opposed to just doing the action that the character needs to do to further the story, having all this work, research, if you've been a good actor, all the rehearsal work, all the thought that's back there that supports you. And you just need to move like the character through the door because that's what they need to do.
Yeah.
You suddenly go, oh, the door means something. I have to find meaning in the door. It's like, no, the character just needs to get through the door.
You never think about what the door means to you when you get over here. It's like,
it's a fucking door.
Just get through the door.
To then deal with the obstacle, wants and needs. Just
of course. I know, man.
I mean, I'm all for playing as well. I like finding stuff that isn't in the script a lot, obviously, like a lot of actors. Mark Ruffalo, I like a lot. I like there's one bit in Zodiac, I think it is, when he's fucking around with a sandwich. He's like, you want to eat that? And the guy's like, Jake Gyllenhaal's like, he stops and you can see him going, this is an improviser moment. Right. He's like, nah. And he moves it to him and he starts opening the sandwich. He takes all the sweet corn out of it. Ding, 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 and then just eats it. Wow. I don't believe that's scripted. I think that was just Mark Ruffalo finding something
to play with,
Why not? There's no rules. I remember as a young actor being very concerned with, there must be this one way of doing this performance. I have to do this. Oh God, I have this impulse to do that. Don't do that because that's not in the script. That kind of shit. Until you realize the script is just the beginning.
Oh, it's literally the skeleton of what you need to play with, man. And as soon as you realize that as well, man.
You're freed, and then you can play.
Oh, it's a good feeling.
I mean, I mean, Baldur's Gate. I didn't change any. I didn't improvise in the dialogue.
Right.
The dialogue was set. I think maybe we used a few contractions, opened up a few contractions because that's how his rhythm is when he speaks, and it was also useful for me to use that. But I played a lot with the character, and I brought a lot in that wasn't on the paper, obviously. And Stephen Rooney, the amazing writer, liked it a lot and sort of followed my rhythm a little bit. And I was playing with his words more and all kinds of stuff. So it was a nice symbiotic relationship. I didn't really improvise any lines. So I don't think it's
man.
No, it's all scripted.
Wow.
Whereas with other projects, I definitely improvised a lot because I felt there was more to it than just what was on the script.
Yeah.
Obviously with a blessing of the director and writer.
But also I guess you were, especially with Baldur's Gate, because it's huge.
4.5 years.
Yeah, I mean, man, that's just nuts. Like the thing is, it's like
I could do another 4.
I
could do another 4 years.
I hope you do another 4.
If somebody wound me back in time, we're going to do the whole thing again. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, okay, let's do it. No, but like the thing is, I guess you were technically still sort of improvising to a degree. Your work, you were both finding the character at the same time.
We were definitely finding the character as we went. That's absolutely,
and I think like that's the beauty of it, right? That's something really, really cool.
It's like doing a TV series, man.
Yeah,
doing 4 seasons of a series was fucking great.
That's great.
Were
you working like when you were filming? And you probably answered this before, but like when you were filming were you filming with other people, or was it just you in the volume? Or?
So sometimes we'd be lucky that some of the lines that had been recorded by other actors were available, so you could bounce off their performances, which was very helpful. We had a wonderful group of directors. I was actually one of the directors at the last 6 months of the project, so I directed for 6 months.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool. But we also had some amazing directors like Kirsty Gilmore, Beth Park was on it. We had Josh Whedon, loads and loads and loads of great talent. Tim Steele. We had loads of wonderful directors. We also had support performance directors for movement. I didn't need that so much, I felt, obviously, because I've got a lot of experience. But they were still useful to me, for me, to work with. They still had insights. Charles Douglas, another great performance. Aliona Baranova, Jennifer English's partner, who's also an actor and also a performance director. Like there was lots of great people there to work with. Sorry if I'm missing anybody by name. There was about 30 of us. So
right, no, for sure.
A lot of people. But they were great. It was great to work with. So, but at the same time, it was this. I think people were very generous with me as well. That they let me play.
They let you play
because I would always back it up with an argument. It wasn't just because. It was like, well, yeah. And there's one time I think I really pushed it really far, and I went, "That's too much." I went, "I don't think it is actually for these reasons." Again, here's the problem. Let me give you the solution.
All right. Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I see what you're saying. However, I know more maybe about this moment than you might do.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Because I've been on this longer. So let me tell you a bit more about the character from my point of view that we've done before. Blah, blah, blah. And it was, they were very generous about it.
Yeah,
and,
it's a bit like TV actually, in the sense of like when you get new directors in, and especially when you're doing like several seasons of something, like you do feel like actually, I've sat in these shoes for quite a while. I feel like I might know what's the how I will perform or how the character will act in this space.
Well, you're living it more than anybody else. I mean, when I was directing voice and performance. I also got the lucky experience of working with other directors like Bruno Deutsche, who worked with me as a performance director often, which is cool. And I'd always start the session by saying, "Hey, my name is Neil," if I didn't know them. Things up, you know the character longer than I have. I've come to the character of the script. I know the story of the project, but I haven't lived the character. You have. So I'm going to give you direction, but I'd like you to first tell me about the character. And then if I give you something wildly contradictory that breaks your character, not in a fun way, then please tell me. Please challenge me.
That's such a...
I think it's fair enough.
God, that's amazing
I think it's fair enough.
Oh, yeah.
I really, as a director, I've directed like 7 projects now.
Right.
And I really believe in the confidence and creating that right environment of trust to be able to say, when an actor asks me, "What do you think about this?" or "I want to do this in the scene," of the director going, "I don't know. Let's find out." Of the genuine, "I don't know. I actually don't know. I have no idea about this, but you've got an idea. So let's do one."
That's
and just
so
see what happens.
great.
Because I think if the director can have that confidence, then when it comes to saying, I hear what you're saying, I don't see it like that, I need you to do this, then it works really well. Because then the actor, I feel, can go, "Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to trust you now."
Yeah.
If you can trust them because you hired them, or even if you didn't hire them, you got to place your trust in them.
Yeah.
Then it does work both ways with that, I think. And then you get, again, the sense of creative fun.
Yes, and I think, and again, that's the idea, is the sense that you are all going towards the same direction, right? You're all wanting to tell a good story. You want to entertain people. You want to move people. You want to do something. You want to affect. Yeah. And I think, like, as long as you've got that goal in mind and you've that thought in mind, again, putting that ego aside, putting that sense of like, I want to put my stamp on this.
It's the project.
It's the project. And I think, like, ultimately you're all, you know, cogs working towards that same goal.
That's why, being a director and actor, it's interesting that I still find myself being very open to work with directors. I don't have an ego about being a director as well. It's like, no, you know what? Right now, I'm an actor. I ain't the director. You're the director. It's your vision, and let's go with it. And I may challenge you. You may challenge me. But ultimately, I know this is for the best of the
for the project and for the thing. Yeah, I totally get that, man. It's one of those ones as well that I had to really learn, even, you know, at the studio, of being like, okay, cool. Even though I am creative director and I've got this vision, I've got this idea.
You might be wrong at times.
Oh, man. And you know what? You've got to take it on the chin.
Yeah, man.
And I feel like that's absolutely fine. But took me a while.
I hope you get to work with a friend of mine, a guy called Steve Knievely.
Right.
Again, I owe him a lot. There's many people I owe a lot. For me to be here to talk to you in the first place about this stuff. Steve is great. He's like my Tarantino, man. He's
really?
He's great. He's great. I've worked with him like 6 times now. He's awesome. And we always have a thing between us where I always go up to Steve and go, "Steve, I've got a great idea." And he went, "No." First thing he says to me is, "No." He's French as well. Like, from Paris.
So yeah, it's
goes,
like, no.
And then he'll go, "All right, you better be good. You know, show me." Steve, you gotta show me. You know, but the first thing he says to me is no.
No, that's great. That's so great.
But in a way that's like, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's funny.
It's what it is. But it's true, though.
It's true. It's like to be able to say, I think the main thing for everybody to remember, we're not brain surgeons. We're not heroes on a battlefield.
No.
We're playing those people.
Literally, yeah.
It's storytelling. And yes, if we're lucky, like Baldur's Gate, like your project with Zhao, you know, all kind of stuff. I'm pronouncing that Zhao.
Yeah, Zhao.
Zhao. Okay. I think I keep mispronouncing Zhao. I don't know why. It's 3 letters. It literally begins with a Z. There's an A and a U in it. Man. I keep thinking there must be another more interesting, creative way of saying Zhao. Maybe it's Shao. Something really cool that I'm just mangling with my pseudo-Brummy London accent. Anyway, sorry, Zhao. What was I talking about?
You're talking about us being really lucky that we're doing this
stuff. So that if we get to be a part of something that has a story to move people.
Yeah.
Because I work selfishly. You know, I do this because I love storytelling.
Yeah.
You know, I love being a part of something. I love being a part of an ensemble. If I'm lucky enough to be a part of a project that actually does affect people, that's like the most incredible bonus. Absolutely. Bonus. Literally bonus.
Such a bonus.
And a privilege.
Yeah.
And all that wonderful stuff, you know. Because I became a storyteller for me. I did that for me. You know, I wanted to tell stories. I want to be a part of something living, creative. So the fact that we get to do that on top of that, mind blowing.
It's amazing.
It's very cool. But we're not heroes, man. You know, we're artists.
Yeah.
And art can be heroic. Art can be bold and can move the world.
Yeah.
But as artists, we're facilitating the art. It's not us. You know, that's why I always have an interesting relationship with celebrity status and all that kind of stuff. And why my private life, I fundamentally mostly, unless it's to do with my childhood wanting to be an actor, which I think is fair enough. Everything else is off limits, man.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, I want them to focus on the character and the work and the art.
Well, like we were talking about this earlier, we were saying like it's so like the difference with actors as well, a lot with actors, is that the piece of work that you do a lot of the time is representative of you in a way. You know, you're having to pull from quite a few personal places, and the character kind of looks like you to a degree, right? So a lot of people look at that piece as, oh, this is the artwork. Whereas with, you know, painters, they're quite lucky in regards to they do their work and they put the painting out, and people can have an opinion on that. Yeah, you know. And I
think it was Tom Stoppard I met. I think it was Stoppard. I did a play of his, a separate piece. I'm pretty sure it was Tom Stoppard. I was catering at an event, and I think it was Tom Stoppard. I met him, and I had no knowledge of who he was. And we were talking about me. Oh, I'm an actor. And he was like, and I was like, what's your name? He was like, Tom. I think it was Tom Stoppard. Right. He's dead, and I've got confused with another playwright. Right. Pretty sure it was Tom Stoppard. And at the end of it, he was like, oh, so what do you do? You know, I said, what do you do? It's like, oh, I'm a writer. And he went away. And I asked him, he was like, that's Tom Stoppard. I was like, fuck me. And it's that moment of like, yeah, okay, cool.
Do you know
that's the guy. I know his words. You know, I have no
idea who he is. But a lot of the time, and it's the different with actors, man. It's like, you know, they look at you, and I think also the more you kind of reveal yourself out there, the harder it is really to do your job. Do you know what I mean? And if
you're not careful. I mean, some people get unlucky, and some people choose it, which I think is weird. But that's a personal choice, man. It's a personal choice. You want to put you know, your private life for sale. I don't think it's a good idea, hard, but it's your choice. Yeah, not for me. I don't make money from my private life. That's why it's off limits. Yeah,
and that's the key thing there. I just want to you do not make money from your private life.
I don't mind people knowing some aspects about it that I can't hide.
Yes, right.
Because this is crazy, but at the same time, I'm not promoting my private life. I'm promoting my aspirations as an artist, my work as an artist, the collaboration of other people that I work with, maybe my political views, if I have a platform, because I feel very fundamentally that we have a major problem in the world, as we all feel that, I think, at the moment, on many different ways. Yeah. I think, you know what, my voice is valid enough. I think I'm intelligent enough and knowledgeable about some things, not others, but some things to be able to express an opinion, which nobody can give a shit about or not.
But it's also, and just to kind of talk about that a bit as well, like I think it is important to sort of voice your opinion, but it's also important to just, again, give people the sort of the perspective that they wouldn't necessarily get or hear.
That's what art is.
You know what? And that's exactly what art is, right? And I think like that is essentially
doesn't mean we're always informed.
No, it doesn't always, no, and that's very true as well, right? I mean, I know there's a ton of people out there. But I do think that is very important, though. Or you know, there is an aspect of it that I feel like, you know, with you voicing your opinion or you're voicing your thoughts, it is literally there to show to people like, hey, we're all human beings here. Yeah. We all have an opinion and we all have a thought on this. Maybe look into it. And you might get through, you know, I always say this, like I always say this to with my mum might tell me something and I might be like, you're my mum, man, you don't know any that, you don't know me. But then if my friend tells me the same thing, I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's true actually. That's really deep. I should think about that before. Exactly. But that's the thing. It's like there is an effect there that allows you then to go down that path and avenue.
This is the thing that I worry about modern age and really I guess it's the interaction with social media social media is a new thing, such a new thing that we're still getting to grips with. Yeah. And actually we're behind the technology. You know what I mean? Oh, as human beings often are, we're behind the technology. It's gone there and we're here in our understanding of what it really is, the nature of it. I think a big part of people's experience now is very fast information with no qualification or critical thought. And that's a worry because then people have opinions that they hear all the time. And if you're not careful, critical thought is the big thing. Yeah. You don't evaluate it. And then it becomes your opinion without the knowledge to back it up. So I definitely have learned new things over the last 20, 30 years, absolutely. Younger generations definitely have done a lot for really cool things like inclusivity, diversity, all that kind of stuff. Definitely some things I've learned new, especially about terminology, identification, all that kind of stuff. It's very cool. I'm really grateful for that. But I've also done my research. about it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what does that mean? Why does that mean? Okay, what does that mean? I'm going to find, okay, well, that's a little psychology page about this thing. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, what about, okay, I'm going to see the opposite person's point of view. You know, all the stuff like with right-wing Trump stuff, okay, it's with MAGA. I spend a lot of time researching all that stuff, looking at it. What are they saying? Why are they saying it?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to demonize somebody point blank.
No.
I may have those thoughts of, man, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
Because that's bullshit. But I don't want to demonize somebody to the point where I wouldn't ever want to talk to that person.
Yeah.
I think that's the big worry that I think art can help with enormously is the conversation.
Yes.
And unfortunately, over the last 20 years, and I think really a big part of it is social media, how we digest information, man. That we've lost in some way that form of conversation.
It's empathy. It's empathy.
Because it takes more effort.
Yes.
It takes a lot of effort to debate, conversation.
Totally.
It can be exhausting. It can be a grind sometimes, especially when you're meeting people with completely polar opposite views to yours. But it's important never to lose it. And a big part of that, obviously, is critical thinking.
Yeah, but also you're not connecting with someone. You're not talking face to face.
They're becoming other.
It's a text message.
It's a text message, or it's a byline, or it's, oh, I heard this is about this, and that must be true.
This is the problem. Yeah, and this is the thing.
Like, it might be true, but it might not be.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and it's literally just talk to me. Just please talk to me, because I'm sure for a fact that I've grown up in a space in an area where people have differing opinions and differing thoughts, and I've played football with them, or I've played games with them, but if I had
stood next to the child's playground with them, you know what I mean?
Do you know what I mean?
One of those ones.
But this is
like,
it. Like,
we go.
This is it, right? And like this has been, you are always going to be crossing paths with people that you disagree
human
with.
Beings.
It's complete human beings, but it is because goddamn social media. But like it is because of that. There is this almost disconnect, and there is this sense of, as you say, like it's just too hard or too much effort.
Too much effort. People don't have the time for that, or whatever, which is not true. Obviously, it's not true at all.
So do you feel then is a responsibility, as I guess with the kind of stuff that you do now and as an actor and everything, that to almost kind of affect that or change that?
I think responsibility is too much of placing importance on me. I mean, I'm just an actor, dude.
Right.
I think it's useful to have a platform. I'd like to be supportive.
Yeah.
With the knowledge of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And I like to maybe try and affect a change in people's points of view, knowing that I may not. Knowing that people will also have the opposite view and also throw negative comments or slurs or whatever it may. Which is fine, because I'm Generation X, man. My bullies were face to face. I could give a shit.
Yeah. You know what? I've had people so different, isn't
it? I've had people challenge me to fight. Fight so me. I'm like, well, okay, probable teenager. I mean, I don't recommend that. And I don't really care about that. But what's going on with you, dude? What's that about?
It's so different. And you can tell those kind of people who've literally been like, you know what? I've grown up with people right there. And you're
and physical. Not even like right here. Like they keep the shit out of you. I'm like, okay, well, I just took a beating, so that's an interesting experience as a human being. And it's like, cool. But so the social media thing is like, I hear this, I've heard like influencers like committing suicide and horrible things like that. People getting so affected by people they do not know. And people who, they do not know their situation. Yeah. They do not know why they're saying these things. Don't know why they're saying these things, and they also, where they're coming from. If they met them in real life, as a one-to-one individual or a small group or whatever, that person would never, 99% of the time, say anything remotely like that to you. Totally. And yet so affected that they destroy their lives. Yeah. That's mind-blowing. I know it's I've had people say things on social media that I don't really read social media that much. Right. People have told me like, oh, this person said this. I'm like, all right, cool. Especially with my views, I'm a big LGBTQIA plus supporter of community, and I've had people call me, oh, you're woke, this and the other. It's like, dude, okay. And here's the thing. I fundamentally believe that's your opinion, man. You're entitled to that. I don't give a shit about it. Have a good life or not. I mean, that's your life. That's your life, yeah. But, cool that you have an opinion. I don't think it's informed, by the way. Yeah. But that's okay. Right. And if you ever meet me, I will be happy if I have the time to have a conversation with you, bro. Like literally, like let's just chat. Let's chat, please. Because I'm intrigued. And the playground thing is interesting. When you meet other parents that you're forced to talk to because the kids are playing together. Right. This is a little bit of behind the scenes in my private life. I don't mind because it's about what we're talking about. My little one and I, used to go to playgrounds like stuff. I have a lot of fun with that kind of stuff. And one time I had a parent man who was standing near me, and our kids started playing, and he went, "Are you English?" I was like, fuck. I was like, yeah, I'm English. And he went, oh, that's good. I went, oh, fuck. I was like, is it? And he went, yeah, not many of us laughed around here, are there? I was like, fuck yeah. Wow. And I went, what do you mean by that? And he went, and I was like, yeah. And so we had a conversation about it.
Right.
And I was like, what do you mean by that? Do you mean white? Do you mean English? Do you mean, what are you talking about?
What do you mean?
What do you mean by that? Like, what are you saying? We had an uncomfortable conversation for about 20 minutes.
Wow.
I don't know if I affected a change in him, but it was definitely an interesting moment of, wow.
Yeah.
Like, this is because he's a white English gentleman, and I'm not entirely sure what he means. He also doesn't realize that my daughter is mixed.
Right.
Which was interesting.
Isn't
Because
that
then during the conversation I said, well, you know my daughter's mixed.
Right.
He's like, oh, is she? It's like, yeah, if you look at it really closely, you'll see it.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. And then literally opposite you, your daughter's playing with with their kids, and they're just doing their thing, and it's just like they're in their own world. It's crazy.
I mean, trying to define to a child why human beings have different coloured skin.
Right.
It's like, well, great. Well, we know for a fact scientifically, everybody started in Kenya, more or less, where Kenya is kind of all human beings. The mutations are the white people that went north because we had less sunlight, less melatonin, skin got lighter. Change color, blah, 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 blah. There's one person in Russia that had blue eyes as a mutation, and that's why loads of people have blue eyes. They all come from just one person, apparently. That's wild.
That's crazy.
And that's why we have different skin tones and different hair because of capturing water to cool down, less hair here, all of these kinds of, all these different variations for all this kind of stuff happened through environment and then became genetics and then passed on. Now it's all mixed up.
Yeah.
And my little one then said, okay, cool. Makes sense. Why racism? That's a whole different conversation. That's something which will take a long time. There's many studies. You can do courses in that.
We ain't got time for that.
We're going to get ice cream now. So it's interesting, when you're then based with facts. It's like kids, they don't give a shit.
No, they don't, man.
Because they'll say, oh, I met a new friend today. Okay, what they like? They've got long hair. Yeah. They're really funny.
Yeah.
They're not talking about, I think they're from this background or that background.
Yeah.
They're just saying, this is the person.
This is the person who they are. We played with this and they really like this, but they didn't like
Thomas and actually, I thought they were really silly because they got really upset because the ball thing.
It's like, that's it. Completely.
Because it's simplified.
Yeah.
It's then, obviously, when we become teenagers and adults, we are very aware of history and complications and
of course.
Things that we do need to talk about. Also things that fear comes into it from other people's influences and all that kind of shit. So, I think art is going back, circling all this way back to what we were talking about earlier. To be able to affect a change is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
If I have a platform to be able to put my opinions over, knowing they'll be challenged, knowing they'll be knocked down, knowing I may be wrong sometimes, but having the clarity and the open-mindedness to then learn from that.
Yes.
If I believe, okay, you know what? I think I'm wrong the way I said. Maybe I should learn about that. That is a wonderful thing to have as a human being.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Being non-judgmental means you have a judgment. Everybody makes a judgment. It's human nature. It's part of our defense mechanism, our survival skills. You make a judgment and appraisal of everything and everybody around you. Danger, fight, flight, friendship, whatever. Being non-judgmental is, I make a judgment, I'm completely open to being wrong.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens before I take any determinate action.
Yeah. It's not about not having an opinion.
It's not about not having an opinion. It's about allowing yourself to be wrong.
Yes.
And being okay with that.
Yeah.
And I always think it's interesting. That's what, again, back to this discussion, critical thought, being able to be evaluating things, being able to say who's saying what and why. How do I feel about that? Why do I feel about that? Obviously, there's a certain luxury that comes with being able to step back and think, but it can be a split-second thing. It can be just a moment of, you know what, I'm just going to bite my tongue because I've got an opinion, but I'm not sure. Let's just see what they say, what they're talking about. Like this guy in the playground.
Right.
What do you mean by that? As opposed to, fuck off.
Fuck off. Like,
fucking racist. Yeah. It was more like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? And I think being non-judgmental as an actor is very important because we cannot judge our characters.
Yeah, totally.
And I've played some horrible bastards in my time. I think that as a human being, it's a very interesting thing as an actor because you're going up against literally your morals. Sometimes.
Yeah.
You're saying, well, I would find that detestable.
Yeah.
But as a character, you can't. You've got to play that.
You've got to play that. You've got to empathize them.
Empathize and love the character. Quite a trip.
But look, leaning into that though, leaning into the idea of storytelling, being an actor and kind of what you wanted to do, do you feel like, I mean, since you've started, the sort of the landscape of storytelling, the sort of the audiences that you are playing to, do you feel like they kind of evolved or changed over time?
Of course they have. I mean, like, we know this fundamentally. Every generation brings something new.
Right.
Human beings are constantly in change of evolution. Sometimes not always for the better.
Okay.
But it's always going to happen. I definitely think it's interesting seeing the new conversations that have cropped up in the last.
Okay.
I would say let's specifically talk about games. So the last 15 years of games, we've seen things like that Dragon Called Cancer is a good example.
Yep.
Of games beyond entertainment. I mean, there's loads of them actually you could cite, but the things like that exist. They're games, but they're more than games. It's not just a game that you shoot and play. It's a game that has a real meaning, a really powerful connection to the makers of that game and the stuff that they went through. It was about somebody's friend whose kid had cancer and died, I think. Yeah. It was really awful. And they made something out of grief. Zao is a very good example of that. Yeah. That is something so personal to you. Yes, it's a fun game, but it's more than that.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot more of that now coming through, which is great. A lot more connections. I think the palette of players has changed.
Yes.
Narrative is now as important, I would say, in most cases.
I think story has always been, like, in my head, is king, right? And I think especially
it wasn't always.
And I think that's very true, actually. But, like, I feel like now we're entering into a phase where, the audiences that we're playing with or the people that we're playing with right now are very much they want more. They want more. Yeah. And I think, like, that's something that I've been feeling and I've been experiencing anyway when it comes to not only the games that I want to play, but also just with the people that I've been talking to.
I remember playing Fallout Tactics, which has a story.
Right.
But the really story was in my head with my characters I was creating.
Right.
With these desperate battles with mutants and all that kind of stuff. And it's an isometric, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about tactics. So the story's quite light. I would fill in the stories of, then this happens and the turns are putting down. And so the story would create in your head without any real framework to base it off, apart from the very thin narrative that you would start and end every mission with.
Yeah.
Right? And things like that, when the narrative wasn't so big, it's always been there. But now, especially with the fidelity of software and hardware, we have nuance, cinematic performance, as well as theatrical performance. We can have all of that together. Baldur's Gate, amazing example. How you can have wild nut stuff, you can have crazy sex and all this kind of fun stuff, violence and all this stuff. You can also have the really heartfelt stuff.
Yes.
The relationship stuff.
Yeah.
The inclusion stuff about what it is to be non-binary or asexual, actually. There are characters that can't be touched. Karlach is a good example of that. Then ace people that I've met have identified with that.
Right.
They said, I felt seen by that because actually, sex is a different thing for me and I view it in a different way and I've felt prejudice with that and all that stuff. Or people that are pansexual or people that are, from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
There's all that kind of interesting representation, which for a long time, obviously, it wasn't.
Wasn't a
thing at all. It wasn't even a conversation.
No.
So absolutely, in the last 15 years, I've seen so much change.
So much change and evolution for it. Yeah, I do feel that too. And I feel like it just gives you more of an audience. It gives you more accessibility. It gives you more of a sense of, like, as you say, like, it's just inviting. And I think I'm feeling welcome. And that's it, man. Like, I just want to feel welcomed.
And that's the other thing as well. It's because it's an active storytelling medium. It's not passive. I mean, film, television, theatre, amazing. It's passive. You're accepting it. Yeah, exactly. Whereas games, especially the more sophisticated frame structures that have branching narrative or have consequences to actions, etc., not just getting through the thing. Even with those games especially, your actions dictate the story. Yeah, man. Obviously, we're talking about massive budgets usually, all that kind of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with linear experience either. But even with linear experience, you're still playing the game. Yeah. You're still helping the character through the linear experience of the story. So even that's not passive. It's you doing it with the support with the person. Or in branching narrative RPG kind of stuff, it's you being the person going through the choices that makes and stuff. Absolutely. And it changes fundamentally the way that we interact with stories in a very beautiful way. Yeah. It's like film, theatre, novel, imagination all smashing together. Remember when you read a novel? I mean, I was a voracious reader. I used to read like fancy things, like Lord of the Rings, a great example. Amazing prose, really amazing, dense book, and all this imagery would flood out of you like, oh yeah, I can see the mountains, I can see this from the words in the book. You create it yourself. And I think all these things have sort of bled into games. And now you have this incredible, beautiful experience that's very addictive. Sometimes too much. But, it's this very beautiful, active experience where you are deeply connected to the story because you are part of the story, if not the story.
Well, look, man, I I've loved this, and I could keep talking to you for ages. But I know we've got time. But look, I just want to say, man, thank you so much.
Oh, dude,
truly, deeply, truly, from the bottom of my heart, man. This has been lovely. So
brother.
thank you, man. Thank you so much.
Man.